Hi guys, Rex here. Spoiler warning before we start. Today I'm going to be explaining a stop motion animated musical fantasy film called Corpse Bride. In a small Victorian town, the rich fish merchant family, the Van Dorts, are getting their son Victor engaged to Victoria Everglot in an arranged marriage. The Everglot family are going bankrupt, so to save their social standing have agreed to the arranged marriage despite showing displeasure for the Van Dorts. Victor is a shy, nervous and kind man, whereas Victoria is unloved and emotionally abused by her family, but is also kind just like Victor. Despite their families' differences, both Victor and Victoria take a liking to one another, even though Victor shows hesitation towards their arranged marriage. During the vow-taking rehearsal, a stranger called Sir Barkis joins the two families. Victor has trouble reciting his vows and accidentally sets Victoria's mother on fire. After the situation has been brought under control, the pastor angrily urges Victor to learn his vows if he wants to get married. Victor, embarrassed and scared of the unfolding events, nervously heads outside of the mansion while Sir Barkis taunts Victoria, saying that Victor is quite the catch. Annoyed by his situation, Victor heads to a nearby forest and starts sulking, but gets motivated by Victoria's likeliness and perfectly recites his wedding vows, and puts his wedding ring on a tree branch which, unknown to Victor, would be a dead bride's hand awoken by his vows. Scared of what he sees before him, Victor runs away, but the corpse catches up to him and tries to kiss him before Victor faints. Waking up in the land of the dead, the confused Victor asks what is going on, and the ghosts and corpses explain in a musical performance how the bride was deceived by her previous lover and had her riches stolen while she was left for dead. So she made a vow to wait for her true love, which is supposed to be Victor. Victor then runs away. Back in his town, Victoria is worried about Victor's safety. Little does she know, his safety is the least of her worries as Lord Barkis enters and informs everyone that Victor ran away with a mystery woman, causing panic in the room. The Van Dorts ask for time till dawn from the Everglot so that they can find Victor and bring him back. Back in the land of the dead, Victor tries to hide from the corpse bride by playing dead, but it pays no heed and she eventually catches up to him. Both of them sit down and have a chat. Victor finds out that her name is Emily, and for a wedding present, she gives Victor a dead pet that turns out to be the same pet that he kept as a little child. This eases him up a little bit, and Victor tells Emily that since they are married, she needs to meet his parents, but to do that, they have to go above ground. Emily tells Victor that Elder Gutnach, a wise old skeleton, would be able to help. They meet the elder and explain the situation to him, and he is reluctant to help them at first as he thinks it is unnatural for the dead to walk the earth, but eventually agrees and performs the Ukrainian haunting spell, telling Emily that if she wants to return, she just has to say hopscotch. Emily and Victor both return to the forest, and Victor tells Emily to wait there while he goes to get his parents, clearly tricking her while he runs off. Victor goes to the Everglot's mansion and finds the front door locked. In the meanwhile, the maggot inside Emily's head casts doubt on their relationship, saying that the boy has got cold feet. Victor then climbs to Victoria's window and enters a room. Both have a heart-to-heart talk, with Victor confessing that even though he was not ready for marriage, he found love through Victoria. Victoria returns back the same feelings, and both are just about to kiss when Emily climbs through the window and introduces herself as Victor's wife, shocking Victoria. In jealousy, Emily says hopscotch and grabs Victor back to the underworld despite his protest. Back in the underworld, Victor tells Emily that this was a mistake and that he would never marry her, which hurts her feelings, and she walks away to her quarters where she wishes that she was alive and had a beating heart and cries herself to sleep. Back at the Everglot mansion, Victoria explains to her parents that Victor is into necrophilia and is married to a corpse, but they think that she is crazy. Angered at the fact that no one listens to her, she escapes through the window and heads towards the church and explains to the pastor about Victor's situation, but he too thinks that she has gone mad and brings her back home, causing her parents to lock her up again. While the Everglades are arguing as to how they are gonna become rich, Sir Barkis intrudes and asks for Victoria's hand in marriage, giving the impression that he is rich, which fools the Everglades, and they agree, not knowing that he too wants their wealth, which in reality they do not possess. While searching for Victor, the Van Dort's driver dies by suffocation. In the underworld, Emily and Victor bond over a session of piano playing, but it is soon interrupted by the arrival of a new dead soul, which turns out to be the Van Dort's driver, who tells Victor that Victoria is getting married that same evening, causing Victor to walk off, leaving Emily alone. We then get to see Victoria's wedding with Lord Barkis, showing Victoria to be acting like a corpse herself, clearly unhappy with her marriage. Back at the underworld, the elder tells Emily that her wedding vows would be only valid till death does them apart, and since Emily is already dead, the vows are invalid, which scares Emily as she thinks that Victor will run away. But the elder says that there is a way for their vows to be fulfilled, and that is by killing Victor by poison, which Emily does not want. Overhearing their conversation, Victor assures Emily that since Victoria is no longer his, he is free to choose Emily as his wife. The semi-undead couple announce their wedding party to the undead residents and tell them that it's to be held upstairs. And the preparations begin, making new clothes and wedding cakes of sorts, and everyone then heads to the upstairs to celebrate. At first, everyone that is living starts to panic when the dead walks the earth, but they soon realize that they mean them no harm. It is also during this time that Victoria learns that Lord Barkis is a fraud that only married her for wealth, and she shows her disappointment to him and heads over to the church where the wedding vows of Victor and Emily would take place. At the church, Victor says his vows, and now it's Emily's turn to say it. She pours the poison in his cup and stops midway in her vows when she sees Victoria looking at them. She stops Victor from drinking the poison and tells him that long ago she too was a bride that had her dreams stolen, and she does not want the same to happen to Victoria, even though she loves Victor. This touching moment does not last long, as Lord Barkis enters, taunting everyone and saying that Victoria is still married to him and he is not leaving empty-handed. Emily recognizes Lord Barkis as her previous lover who left her for dead, which shocks everyone, and Barkis then threatens to kill Victoria. Victor intervenes and they both brawl, with Victor puncturing Lord Barkis's left cheek with a fork. Barkis proves to be more resilient and is just about to stab Victor when Emily saves him and threatens Barkis to leave. Barkis says that he will leave once he gives his toast to Emily, lifting up the glass, not knowing that it's filled with poison, and mocks Emily, angering her undead allies who are about to attack him, but stopped by the elder, who tells them that they must abide by the living's rule. Barkis then drinks the poison wine and dies. No longer abided by the living's rules, the undead attack him. Finally freed from her curse, Emily assures Victor that he fulfilled his promise and returns his wedding ring back to him. She then heads towards the church's exit and throws the bouquet of flowers behind her, which are caught by Victoria. Emily then transforms into a flock of butterflies and flies into the sky with Victor and Victoria finally together gazing towards the moon.